Imagine this. You're able to fly from the US to Abu Dhabi in the UAE, which is an hour away from Dubai, for 90,000 American Express, Chase, Capital One Venture Miles, or Bilt reward point, which is already a pretty solid deal at over 3 cents per point, considering these flights typically cost over $3,000 or more each way in business class. But what if I told you you can spend a few days in Abu Dhabi and then continue your trip on to Southeast Asia for only 2,500 points more? Sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually possible. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to do that. If you don't already know, my name is Max and I help people maximize their airline miles, hotel points, and credit card points so they can travel more, travel better, and travel for less. If you like miles and points travel content like this, remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and let's get started. So the overview process of this redemption is that we'll be flying Etihad business class or economy if you want to, but in this case, I'm gonna walk you through business class. We're gonna be booking through Air Canada Aeroplan. So the reason why we're booking through Air Canada Aeroplan is that Air Canada has a special partnership with Etihad, which allows us to book Etihad flights through Air Canada. So first up, earning Air Canada Aeroplan miles. To earn Air Canada Aeroplan miles, it's actually not that difficult because American Express, Chase, and Capital One Venture Miles and Bilt reward points all transfer to Air Canada Aeroplan at a 1-to-1 ratio. So that means if I have 90,000 American Express points, I can transfer those 90,000 American Express points over to Air Canada Aeroplan at a 1-to-1 ratio, and I would get 90,000 Air Canada Aeroplan miles. Same thing with Chase, same thing with Capital One Venture Miles, same thing with Bilt reward points. So earning Air Canada Aeroplan, you have a decent amount of options. If you're looking to apply for any of these cards, my referral and affiliate links are down in the description down below if you want to help support the channel. So that's how you earn the points. You just earn some credit card points that are transferable over to Air Canada Aeroplan. And once you've earned those points, now it's time to redeem those points. So before you transfer your credit card points over to Air Canada Aeroplan, first you want to search for award availability. Searching for award availability means making sure that the seat is bookable with miles and points before you actually transfer your credit card points. If you want a video specifically about award availability, I'll link it up above here. So to search for award availability, it's a little tricky and we have to use two websites, Etihad Guest as well as Air Canada Aeroplan. What we'll do is search for a flight over on Etihad Guest and then make sure that the award availability is there and then confirm it over on Air Canada Aeroplan, and that's when we'll transfer our points over to Air Canada Aeroplan. So the reason why we're searching on Etihad Guest is that it's a little easier than searching directly on Air Canada and it's a little quicker. So let's jump over to Etihad's page. And so I'm here on etihadguest.com, and so this is the page where you'll search for Etihad award availability. You want to click on book on the top right corner. So what we want to focus on are non-stop routes from Abu Dhabi to the US. There are 3 routes to the US that are non-stop to Abu Dhabi, that's Chicago, Washington, and New York, and there's also Toronto as well. So in our example, what we're going to do is from Chicago to Abu Dhabi. Let's pick March 25th as an example. Click on business, 1 adult, we want to click on miles, and then we can click on search flights. And so these are our results, and what we want to focus on is this 7-day calendar up above here. You kind of want to go through these 7-day calendar and pick and choose the dates that require the fewest amount of miles. And for example, March 25th is one of the days that requires the fewest amount of miles at 120,000 Etihad miles. March 24th is 707,000 Etihad miles, which is a lot of miles, and we're not booking through Etihad, but this is the reason why we're not booking through Etihad, is that they require more miles than Air Canada Aeroplan, which you'll see in a couple minutes here. And so what we want to pick is like one of those dates that require the fewest amount of miles. And so 120,000 miles for March 25th here, and if you click on 120,000 miles, what we want to find is guest seat business. This means that this is Saver award seats or partner award seats, which means we can find this on Air Canada Aeroplan. This is super important. You have to find guest seat business award availability in order to be able to find it on Air Canada Aeroplan. Super important. And what we're going to do is jump over to Air Canada Aeroplan and run the same exact search. So here on Air Canada, what I'm going to click on is one way and book with Aeroplan miles. Chicago to Abu Dhabi, and I'm going to pick the same exact date, which it was March 25th. Click on find, and what we see here is the same exact flight for 90,000 Air Canada Aeroplan miles. And it's important to understand why they're charging 90,000 points here. I'm going to pull up Air Canada Aeroplan's award chart. This is Air Canada's reward chart, and what we want to take a look at is this map. Air Canada splits its regions up into 4 areas: North America, Atlantic, Pacific, and South America. So where we're flying from is the North America region to the Atlantic region, because the UAE is just over here, and that's the award chart that we're going to look up is from North America to the Atlantic region. And this is based on the distance in miles that we're flying. And so we're going to use another tool is gcmap.com and type in ORD to AUH, and that's 7,276 total flight miles that we'll be flying, and that falls into this band. And since we're flying on Etihad, which is an Air Canada partner, they're charging us 90,000 points. And so that's how we arrived at this 90,000 point number, is that based on this chart, based on the distance we're flying, based on the regions that we're flying, it's telling us that in business class on a partner award airline, it's 90,000 points. So that's quickly how to read this chart. And this is important when we get into the maximize section, because this is where we can potentially tack on an extra leg to Southeast Asia in business class for only 2,500 points more. So stick around for that maximize section. So going back to the Air Canada page, we can confirm that it's 90,000 points. There's 2 seats available, and it's 49 Canadian dollars in taxes and fees, which is equivalent to 33 US dollars in taxes and fees. So what's next is that we can transfer American Express, Chase, Capital One Venture Miles, or Bilt reward points over to Air Canada Aeroplan and complete the booking on the Air Canada Aeroplan page. So that's the easy redemption. And if you need a tutorial on how to transfer Capital One, Chase, or American Express points over to its transfer partners, I'll link a playlist up above here. So like I said, this redemption is actually pretty solid already, considering this flight from the US to Abu Dhabi is typically over $3,000 one way in business class. Since we're using 90,000 points and do the cent per point calculation, it comes out to be more than 3 cents per point, which is a pretty solid redemption. But we can take this a step further and maximize this redemption to use fewer points, but also continue down to Southeast Asia as well. So let's jump over to the maximize section. So there's 3 different ways to maximize this redemption, and this is where the fun really begins. The first way to maximize this redemption is just to simply pick the right plane. Etihad flies 2 different business class products to the US, which both of them are great from what I hear. I haven't flown it. I have this booked for November, so I haven't flown this yet. But from what I hear, Etihad's business class is awesome, but their newest business class is currently flying to Chicago only. So to get on their newest business class, what you want to find is the Airbus 350-1000, and that is the newest Etihad product. The 87-9 is totally fine, and I heard it's fantastic as well. But if you want to get in the newest Etihad product, it's currently only flying to Chicago, and then in the spring, it's going to start flying to New York JFK. And so that's the first way to maximize this redemption. The second way to maximize this redemption is to take advantage of Air Canada Aeroplan's stopover rules. Essentially what a stopover is a stop in a city that's more than 24 hours. Don't get it confused with a layover. A layover is less than 24 hours. A stopover is more than 24 hours. So a stopover could be 4 or 5 days, sometimes up to 45 days, whereas a layover is just for a few hours when you're transiting in between a city. So the benefit of a stopover is that you get to see 2 cities. And Air Canada Aeroplan has some pretty generous, awesome stopover rules where they allow you to do a stopover for an additional 5,000 Air Canada Aeroplan points. So what we're going to do in our example is fly from the US to Abu Dhabi, and use Abu Dhabi as a stopover for a few days, and then continue on to Southeast Asia like Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, or Singapore. How this works is that Air Canada Aeroplan charges 5,000 points for a stopover. And so instead of booking from the US to Abu Dhabi, what we're going to do is book from the US to Bangkok and then build in Abu Dhabi as a stopover for that additional 5,000 points. To look at the Air Canada award chart again, we're going to be flying from the North America region to the Pacific region, and so we want to pull up that chart. So pulling up that chart, it's based off of, again, distance as well as Air Canada and partner awards, and also class of service as well. So if you go back to gcmap.com and put in Chicago to Bangkok, it's 8,561 miles. Looking at the Air Canada award chart, it fits into this band, and since this is going to be a partner award, it's going to be 87,500 points. But remember, we're adding a stopover in Abu Dhabi, and so a stopover is an additional 5,000 points. So this should bring the total to 92,500 points if this all works out perfectly. And so the first thing we want to do is make sure that there's award availability from the US to Abu Dhabi. And then the second thing we want to do is figure out if there's award availability on what dates from Abu Dhabi to whichever Southeast Asian city that you want to fly to. And so what we want to focus on is cities that are serviced by Etihad only, just to keep things easy. And so if we look on flightconnections.com, these are the cities that are serviced by Etihad from Abu Dhabi: Bangkok, Phuket, Thailand, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Jakarta, and even Manila. Again, for this redemption in particular, we want to focus on routes that are serviced by Etihad non-stop. So we already searched for award availability in the last section from Chicago to Abu Dhabi on March 25th. Let's say we want to stay in Abu Dhabi for 3, 4, 5 days and then continue on down to Bangkok. And so now what we want to do is kind of repeat the search again, but this time from Abu Dhabi to Bangkok on the etihadguest.com page. So let's go over to etihadguest.com and run that search again. I put in Abu Dhabi to Bangkok one way, and let's go ahead and pick like March 29th, for example. Business class for one person, we'll do miles, and let's go ahead and click on search flights. And again, similar to last time, is that what we want to find on the 7-day calendar up here are the dates that require the fewest amount of miles. March 31st is 67,749 miles, and we click on this, it says guest seat business. This is what we want to find, is guest seat business. Guest seat business again means that we can find it on Air Canada Aeroplan. And so this is good. Now we know that we can go from Chicago to Abu Dhabi on March 25th. There's award availability there. Continue on from March 31st down to Bangkok. There's also award availability there as well. And let's go confirm it over on the Air Canada page. Clicking over to the Air Canada page, what we want to click on is multi-city/stopover. And what we're going to do here is that we're going to build in our stopover. It says flight 1 and flight 2. I'm going to remove flight 2. And from Chicago, our final destination will be Bangkok, remember? So the length of our stopover will be about 5 days, because I think we fly from Chicago to Abu Dhabi on the 25th. We'll get to Abu Dhabi on the 26th. And then 5 days from there would be March 31st. So you have to do a little math there on your dates and calculations and stuff like that, but I think it's about 5 days. So we're gonna go ahead and put in 5 days here and click on find. And our results show exactly what we're expecting. From Chicago to Abu Dhabi and then Abu Dhabi to Bangkok with a stopover in Abu Dhabi for 5 days, it's 92,500 Air Canada Aeroplan miles. So remember our previous redemption from Chicago over to Abu Dhabi, it's 90,000 points. So now we can go see Abu Dhabi for a few days and then continue our trip down to Bangkok, and it's only costing us an additional 2,500 points for a total of 92,500 points, which is such an awesome deal to continue your trip and see 2 cities for only 2,500 points more, and it's an extra 6 hours and 40 minutes of a business class flight. To give you an idea of how good of an offer this is, if I didn't do the stopover method and I just booked each legs individually, it would be a total of 150,000 Air Canada Aeroplan points. So taking advantage of the Air Canada stopover option can save you a bunch of points and will really maximize your miles and points. And so there's a lot of different variations you can do of this. You can fly to Singapore if you wanted to, you can fly to Jakarta, you can fly to Kuala Lumpur. Wherever there's a non-stop flight from Abu Dhabi down to Southeast Asia, then you can add a stopover. So mess around with some of the routing options and comment below and let me know what you find for how many Aeroplan miles. Moving on to the final and third option to maximize this redemption is to take advantage of transfer bonuses. Currently, there is a 15% transfer bonus when you transfer American Express points over to Air Canada Aeroplan. Instead of a 1-to-1 ratio, it's a 1-to-1.15 ratio when you transfer American Express points over to Air Canada Aeroplan. If you do the math there, include the bonus, that means if you transfer 79,000 American Express points over to Air Canada Aeroplan, that will give you more than 90,000 Air Canada Aeroplan points to book from the US to Abu Dhabi. If you're looking to get to Southeast Asia, if you transfer 81,000 American Express points over to Air Canada Aeroplan, that will give you more than 92,500 Aeroplan miles to be able to book that itinerary from the US to Abu Dhabi as a stopover and then continue on to Southeast Asia. So take advantage of transfer bonuses whenever they come. It's hard to predict whenever they have transfer bonuses, but every once in a while there are transfer bonuses that you should be able to take advantage of. That's 3 different ways on how to maximize this redemption to make a good deal even better. As always, comment below if you have any questions, and if you found this video helpful and you want to see more content like this, remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.